Hi, I'm Kaycee, and welcome to the Hello Flow podcast, a space where we bridge together professional success and career alignment with personal well being and spirituality. At a time when many people are awakening to their soul's purpose and navigating that messy but magical middle, I offer this space for growth, well being, and spiritually grounded practices to support you in your daily grind and pursuit of embodying your Dharma. After tuning into this podcast, I hope you receive the inspiration, empowerment, and applicable tools to usher in more ease and flow in your life and equip you as you discover, develop, and evolve your Dharma. Now, on to the episode. Welcome back to the Hello Flow podcast. I'm your host, Kaycee Conless. And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm a certified Dharma coach and human design reader. In this episode, I'm going to talk about a topic that is really personal to me because it's something that I experienced and lived through. And it became a catalyst that changed my life and life path. That experience is called my ultimate burnout. Burnout has become almost inevitable in today's Western world, I would say. So I think it's a very important topic to talk about and see what we can learn in order to manage it better and even prevent it. So let's start off with talking about the origin of burnout and how the definition has evolved to where it is today. The term burnout was introduced in the 1970s by the American psychologist Herbert Freudenberger. He described it as the consequences of severe stress and high expectations in specifically helping professions, such as nurses and doctors. This was specific for helping professions at the time because of the self-sacrifice for others. And as a result, feeling exhausted, lacking spirit, and feeling they're unable to manage or cope with those feelings in their occupational environment. Present day, burnout is not only used for helping professions, but it can affect anyone with an increasingly demanding job, including stressed out, over-functioning, career-driven individuals, overworked small business owners and entrepreneurs, overworked service and hospitality professionals, and homemakers. The World Health Organization lists burnout under the International Classification of Diseases that's specifically an occupational phenomenon. Burnout is defined as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized by three dimensions. 1, feelings of energy depletion of exhaustion. 2, increased mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job. And 3, reduced professional efficacy. Burnout refers specifically to phenomena in the occupational context and should not be applied to describe experiences in other areas of life. This is according to the World Health Organization. Now, Mayo Clinic states, and something I agree with, that there are other factors such as personality traits and non-occupational environments and situations that can also impact who, how, and when you experience burnout. I'm going to break down the rest of the episode into 3 areas. First, signs of burnout and how to spot it, then causes of burnout, and end with how to take action to best manage it. So, signs of burnout. Personally, in my experience, the signs that drew me to really reflect on whether or not I was experiencing burnout were physical. Daily migraines, not tension headaches, but debilitating migraines to where migraine medicine wasn't solving the pain. Stomach pains when I woke up and throughout the day, and daily flare-ups of eczema, all of which are uncommon for me, and almost immediately and within months cleared up after leaving my job at the time. Emotionally, I was not only feeling drained and exhausted, but also a lack of excitement and that fire I used to have within me because I used to be quite passionate about my profession. As a result, I felt like I wasn't contributing the way I not only wanted to contribute, but that I knew I had the capability and capacity to. It just wasn't there anymore. I also felt underappreciated and undervalued, and I believe this ties back to evaluating your personal return on investment, which I will talk about in the next section. Internally, I felt really frustrated, aggravated, and just not in a good mood. It wasn't normal to feel this way. And it's normal to feel that way in a workplace, but not a near daily thing. And if so, then that's a pretty big sign. So that was my experience, but there are other signs to look for. That includes difficulty concentrating, lack of motivation or pride in your work, lacking energy to be consistently productive, having insomnia or oversleeping, or relying on substances to cope. The impact of experiencing these signs are serious and can be dire. Not only will it negatively impact your performance at work, but it can impact your personal life, your relationships, and your passions outside of work. Your physical and mental well-being is at risk and can lead to things far more serious and long-term versus the daily migraine and stomach pains and feeling frustrated all the time. Now we'll talk about causes of burnout. According to a Harvard Business Review article, there are 6 causes of burnout. And I'll make sure to link article references in the show notes in case you want to reference them directly. With these causes, it's important to evaluate, can I make some changes in these areas so I can hopefully prevent or properly navigate out of burnout? Or is it just too large of a gap between where you're at and your current position for you to seriously consider looking for something new? The first cause of burnout is a bit of a no-brainer, but it's workload and identifying whether or not what's on your plate matches your capacity at that moment of time. And is it chronic? Do you have any time to rest and recover? Do you have time to tend to your well-being in general? Do you have any time to pursue personal and professional growth? Do you have the appropriate amount of time for personal life outside of work? The second cause of burnout is lack of control. This looks like not feeling like you have personal agency and autonomy when it comes to your personal life and your well-being. That includes expectations or pressure to be available all the time, blurring the boundaries between professional and personal life. And energetically knowing if you aren't, it can impact your employee standing or potential promotion opportunities or business opportunities. This can also be lack of resources, not having the resources you feel like you need to deliver on high expectations. The third cause of burnout is reward or lack thereof. How is that balance between what you are giving and receiving in your current job or occupation? What is your personal return on investment? The fourth cause of burnout is community, or I would call human environment. Evaluating who you work with and who you work for. Is it a supportive and trusting community? What are the dynamics like in the human environment? Are they dysfunctional? Do you feel like you're being way too micromanaged or even bullied? You can communicate your needs and what you may feel like to be supportive, but is the message truly being received? And is there anything that's being done to support you? The fifth cause of burnout is fairness. And this is about whether or not you feel like you and others receive fair and equitable treatment. This can be for recognition and praise based off of what you've contributed, and if it's the amount of recognition and praise you feel like you need and deserve. It can be about being recognized for your ideas or even getting the resources you need to deliver. Those resources can be time, budget, extra hands to support. The sixth cause of burnout is values mismatch. This is simply a gap between what you highly value as a human and an individual that isn't reflected in what the company not only says what they value, but in their actions. Your motivation and drive to really show up in your workplace will be impacted significantly when your values don't align. This cause reminds me of a quote from Brené Brown, a leading researcher and storyteller on courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. She says, the space between your professed values and your practiced values is where burnout lives. I'm going to add one more to this list that wasn't listed in the Harvard Business Review article, and that cause is what I call enthusiasm without boundaries. So what I mean by this is that you may be really passionate about your job, about the product you work on, about the mission or service you are doing, about the organization's mission and vision, but that isn't an invitation to say yes to everything, including adding projects, especially non-promotable tasks, extra work, all unpaid, maybe not even recognized, simply because you're passionate and enthusiastic. Whether conscious or unconscious, other people will take advantage of that passion and trait. So just pay attention to what, where, how, and to whom you devote your enthusiastic energy towards. So in no way do I think this is an exhaustive list of causes, but I think what is introduced is still quite comprehensive. Obviously, nobody wants to experience and be stuck in burnout mode. It is physically and mentally draining and debilitating, and has the potential for serious long-term effects to your well-being. So what are some actions we can take to prevent and manage burnout? 1, identify the source. Now that you have the main causes of burnout, which of these is contributing to feeling burnt out? 2, identify immediate changes you can make. For example, if workload is a contributor, take a look at how you can reduce the workload by talking to your boss about prioritized projects and delegating or removing tasks that aren't priorities. If reward or fairness are contributing factors, identifying what you need to feel your investment is worth the payoff is to speak up and talk about your concerns with your boss. Whether it's a raise, promotion, more recognition in terms of ideas and contributions, or more opportunities for professional growth. If values is a contributing factor, really evaluate not only the organization's values, but the values and actions of its leaders, and if applicable, your direct line of managers. Is the organization and those you're reporting to acting in accordance to your own morals and values? 3, identify and engage with your allies and support system. Talk to people you trust. By engaging with others, they can help identify potential solutions during a time you are exhausted and drained. As the HBR article states, burnout isn't simply about being tired. It's a multifaceted issue that requires a multifaceted solution. And before moving on, really take the time to understand what is truly contributing to your burnout. Take action against them. And if things still haven't improved, then perhaps it's time to seriously consider making a change. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and my own personal burnout story. If you find this topic interesting and would like to hear more, please reach out to me on my website, or you can DM me directly on Instagram at Kaycee. Both will be linked in the show notes. I also have a blog post titled, "I Had My Ultimate Burnout and Left a Dream Career" on Medium, and will be published on a new blog platform on my website. I'll include these links in the show notes as well. Finally, the quote I am going to leave you with is by the Dalai Lama. In dealing with those who are undergoing great suffering, if you feel burnout settling in, if you feel demoralized and exhausted, it is best to withdraw and restore yourself. The point is to have a long-term perspective. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to hear what resonated with you, so follow and DM me on Instagram at KayceeCan and let me know. You can also find other ways to stay connected with me by visiting the links in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you on the next episode of the Hello Flow podcast.